Welcome back to StarCraft 2. I'm playing another Zerg versus Zerg. It seems to be the matchup that I'm getting the most often. Yes, I've actually been playing against a lot of Zergs and Protoss recently, not a single Terran. So, Zerg versus Zerg. Man, I've been having a really bad time in this matchup, and I decided to do something a little bit different in this game. Um, Maybe not the best strat that I chose, and yes, I had quite a bit of lag at the start here. I'm not sure why it does that. This was my first game of the day, so it tends to do that sometimes. Anyway, that's why I swing my mouse around the map a little bit to just make sure the game is running as it should. So I'm playing against Mjolnir here, and as far as I can remember, that is probably some god of thunder, and I know it's an item from Dota, as far as I remember. Anyway, but he's a Zerg player, and you know, in my Zerg vs Zergs recently, as I said in my previous game that I actually uploaded before this, it's always come down to this silly roach infester play, and since infestors were buffed as they were, they do a lot more damage, and that fungal growth just seems a lot more effective in Zerg vs Zerg. There's actually very little reason to go Hydras. There's even less reason to even think about Mutalisks. Mutalisks are just ridiculous. I mean, if your opponent goes Hydras, you can just go more roaches, and you should be able to handle it. You know, you can get the burrow movement if you need it. Or just, you know, plain burrow on its own is actually quite good for the micro, for keeping them alive. I mean, if you can micro it correctly. But so my sort of little game plan going into this, and yes, I actually had one for once. It's really surprising, actually. It is. I never really know what I'm doing. But I decided to go my gas a little bit earlier, so I went gas on 13, got an extra drone out, and got my pool on 14. So yes, that is a pretty standard build. If you want to go speed first, if you want to get your speed as fast as you possibly can, and you want to sort of try go for the map control instead of the economy. And there's a few different ways of playing the game. I mean, you can do that. You can really go for the map control. Try keep your opponent so busy that he doesn't really have time to check what you're doing. He doesn't have time to react to what you're doing. He doesn't have time to know what's going on your side of the map because he's so busy trying to defend on his side. And with speedlings, that's quite possible. But then again, on a map like this, if your opponent plays it well, if he gets his roaches out fast, for instance, you can block his ramp quite easily, but then obviously he's still going to be able to, get into his natural quite easily should he expand. And in a Zerg versus Zerg, I think it's quite essential to try expand as soon as you can. I spotted his expansion going up here at the last place I scouted, yes. Terrible, terrible luck. You can see I pulled my 2 drones off the extractor just to stop it at about 100 gas so I can get my speed and then get my income up back to where it should be as fast as possible so I can just keep pumping those Zerglings out. And yes, that's what my plan was in this game. I was sort of going to commit to pure speedlings and banelings to try end the game really quickly. And as I keep saying, I don't often try to do this. It's sort of out of my comfort zone, but again, I do think it's a good thing to play like that. It's a really good thing to try new things if you can afford to do them. I mean, personally, I don't really care too much for ladder rank. If I lose a game, it's not that big a deal. Sure, I get slightly demotivated, slightly depro for a while, but it's not really the end of the world. And, you know, as I say, it's good to try new things out, and this is, to me, definitely a new thing. I never do this. Okay, so putting my baneling nest down, pretty decent timing. It's a little bit later than it could be, but I was getting my speed first. I wasn't going for a pure bane bust. I was actually getting speed first, so it's sort of a stepping stone then into the mid to late game, because having speedlings out is quite essential if you're going to be playing speedlings versus speedlings. And I didn't know what he was going for yet, so I assumed that was the case. Now, one thing that I was doing consistently wrong from the start was not spending my minerals. And, you know, you can remedy that by throwing down a macro hatch, they call it, in your base. So another hatchery, instead of expanding, you could have thrown down another hatchery just to get that larva count up. Or I could have alternatively just thrown down my own expansion a little bit sooner, because right now my minerals are already busy skyrocketing and I wasn't doing anything about it. I could have thrown another drone on gas, because I only had 2 over there now, and then I could have spent some more minerals on rather getting banelings out. So there are a few alternatives that I could have done. My play was most definitely not flawless here. And, you know, that's little things I can work on. I mean, I'm going to try this kind of thing again for sure, but those are things that I should watch. So here I was very, very happy that he built his crawlers where he did. He didn't spread the creep, and I got a brilliant hit with my baneling there. And then seeing his main, I thought, okay, this is going to be an easy win for me. Now, it wasn't really easy per se, but I got sort of lucky. You know, I did get my speedlings consistently into his base. I did manage to do a lot of damage there, and I was sort of left alone because he didn't try move his crawlers around to defend his main. He didn't have enough reinforcements there. I did spot his roach warren going up here, so I could actually take it out. And I feel that I should have probably focused on that instead of trying to you know, focus on taking the hatchery down there for a second. Instead of running around as much as I was, I should have maybe just focused on getting that roach warren down before he got roaches out. But I had a couple of zerglings out, and as you can see, my minerals are just going up and up and up. Still not doing anything about it. I should have thrown down my expansion now because I was keeping him busy, and it was a good time to do it. So I had my hatchery proxy waypointed over here, and my zerglings were coming in. I had speed, he didn't, so I had a definite advantage. And then again, I don't even need to mention the banelings because they are obviously helping out tremendously. My baneling control, not too great. It's probably a better idea just to number them separately, because I wasted 2 banelings on the queen there, which I really didn't need to do, and then another one on a set of zerglings that just came out at the last second. So my baneling control, definitely something I need to work on, but you know, it wasn't a game breaker yet, definitely not. So I was happy with the fact that I could take down the roach warren. I realized that he had a couple of roaches out, and I did focus them down as quick as I possibly could, and as you can see, I eventually did manage to throw down my expansion, which is great. Well done, Swen. Well done. If I look at a few things I did right and did wrong in this, I really do think that I could have split the pressure up a little bit. I probably could have spared a few zerglings to send to his natural while at the same time harassing the main. I don't know if I would have controlled it as well, but it would have been a good idea. Perhaps only a couple of banelings around the top side of the expansion, because he'd be so busy focusing his forces on the bottom of his natural that the top probably didn't have much defense at all. So that's one thing I could have done differently. Secondly, the mineral count way too high for me. That was actually really terrible play by me. I could have done so many things differently with that. I most definitely could have ticked to a lair if I wanted to. Not much point in doing that really, but I could have thrown down another expansion. I could have droned up a little bit. I could have thrown down that macro hatch. As I said, there's a lot of things I could have done differently. I could have brought a couple of drones over to his base and tried to throw down a few of my own spine crawlers. And here I thought to myself, okay, at last it's time to check out his natural, and he was, as you can see, not too happy about that. You know, in his position, there are a lot of things I could have done different. I would have done differently as him, most definitely. I think that his spine crawler placement wasn't ideal. Not that great. He should have probably used his queens to block his ramp, because that would have been a lot easier. You know, throwing zerglings at a wall of queen isn't always the best thing. But I don't know. You know, that's the kind of thing that you gotta think about these things when you throw down that early expansion. You gotta think maybe you want to get those roaches out as early as possible, a little bit earlier than he did, perhaps. Maybe you want to get even more spine crawlers out. He most definitely could have spread the creep once at his natural and then cordoned off the entire ramp area with spine crawlers, and then it would have been slightly risky for me to even go up there. So, you know, in Zerg vs Zerg, this is the kind of game I actually probably prefer above the whole Roach Infester play, but again, as a Zerg player, I should probably know all of it. So if any of you guys think I should have done things differently, if you have any tips for me, things like what should I spend those minerals on when they go that high, because they tend to do that when you're playing a game and spending your minerals on the zerglings alone. All I was getting there was zerglings, overlords and banelings. I wasn't even droning up very much. It was all in. What should I be spending those minerals on? You know, if you're playing against that, has it happened to you? How do you counter it? How do you sort it out? I can tell you again that this was diamond level play, and perhaps not the best diamond level play, because I'm incredibly rusty and I'm playing really badly lately, but still, it gives you guys a bit of an idea of what my ladder games look like. So leave those comments, let me know what you think. If you want me to try a few different strats, if you have any suggestions. I know I've uploaded 2 Zerg vs Zergs now, and that's just because I've been getting Zerg vs Zerg games the whole time. I don't know if you have that problem as well. But yeah, I had a really bad day of StarCraft, and the games that I played just weren't great. So I thought I'd cheer myself up by casting a game that I actually won. Yes, I did in fact win at least one today. So let me know what you guys think about Zerg vs Zerg. Do you prefer the Infester play? Do you like the Speedling play? Do you go Mutalisks? I mean, they seem to be a dying breed at the moment. But anyway, thanks for watching, thanks for the comments in advance, because I know you guys love to criticize my play. If my mic was making funny sounds throughout the video, I'm not sure what's going on there. I apologize for that. Again though, I'm just saying this one was for fun. I know it wasn't really the most educational of videos, but hey, here it is. Thanks for watching again, and most importantly, happy StarCrafting.